Pastor Zillinger's Daily Devotions. The psalm for today, Psalm 127, a song of ascents of Solomon. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate. Once again, a song of ascents. We've seen a lot of these. These are liturgical songs in the book of Psalms of what, like in your hymnal, of different categories. And so these are all the song of ascents of as you go up in the pilgrimages, the festivals that you have as you go up in the temple up the steps. This is of Solomon. So this is very early at the beginning of the first temple, the big temple of Solomon, when they transitioned from tabernacle to temple and then had a permanent place in Zion in Jerusalem. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. And Solomon would know this, especially from his father as well. You need to ask the Lord first what direction he wants to do and have for you, and then go along with his plan, not with yours. And I think sometimes we oftentimes tell the Lord our plan and want him to do what we want to do. And sometimes that's not what the Lord wants. So ask the Lord's will first with this. Wait for him. And then sometimes he says, well, yeah, that's great. I would like your ideas and things too. Then we move to that next step. Then we move to the step of, okay, what are our ideas with this? But I think maybe putting things to prayer and putting things into the Lord's will first really does help us, because really it makes us anxious and it makes us stay up at night and it makes us not want to sleep well, and it makes us do all these things because really we're striving against the Lord. And sometimes he says, wait, and that's okay. That's you wrestle with him in prayer that way. But sometimes he says, no, I want it built this way. And you go, oh, okay, I will follow your pathway. I'll follow what your will is. The next is in the section of the children are a heritage from the Lord. And I want to encourage Christians out there to have Christian children, to raise up your children as strong Lutheran Christians. I think one thing is people just think that, oh, I have a lot of kids, so then there's a blessing with that. Well, yes and no, but the blessing really is that you're making a household of God, and you want them to be strong Christian Lutherans. And I find oftentimes as Lutherans, we fail in this of not wanting to make them to be strong, mature disciples. We just say, well, as long as they're going to a church that preaches God's word. Well, yes and no, I'm glad, but maybe they're teaching false doctrine. Maybe it's mixed. It's a heterodox church. Maybe their practices are not mature or they're immature. That you want your child to be a disciple, and start early with your children. Start when they're born. You take them to church every Sunday. You take them to education extra than Sunday. You educate them at home extra than just what the church does. You read through the Bible. You talk about Christ. You're the ones who are the great catechizers of your children. And then realize that they're a blessing that way. Now, sometimes sin enters in and there's problems. I get that. But I always say we do what the Lord wants us to do to raise up children. And he says to make disciples, and our very first people to make disciples are our husband and wife, our children. And then our grandchildren come after that too, which is a wonderful blessing from the Lord too. So consider that as you raise your family. It's a good thing to have children. And then the next one is to raise them up in the Lord. The Lord bless your day as well as your week.